we've seen a lot of decrease in Google Analytics and the successfulness of Google Ads. Like just within the last 6 months, we've seen a decrease in our numbers.
Yep.
So we're really trying to prioritize, trying our darndest to build up the ability for the Chat GPT to find us if people are asking questions there. We're putting out blogs, we're writing case studies from actual customers.
Hey, I'm Nate Wheeler. I'm the host of Manufacturing Insiders Podcast. Really want to thank you for joining today. I hope that you learned some really great insights from this manufacturing leader that you're about to hear from. I also hope that you'll go ahead and hit that like button on the video and subscribe to our channel so you can see more of the stuff that comes out as we're continuing to publish content. Every like, every subscribe really helps us get this message out. And the message that we're sharing is really just a message of hope for manufacturers. I understand, I work with you guys every day. I understand how many different obstacles are in your faces, from technology to government regulations to competition from foreign and domestic markets. And I really want to share strategies with you on how to deal with these issues. And I think there's no better way to learn than hearing directly from somebody that solves some of these challenges. Thanks for watching today, and look forward to seeing you soon. Welcome to Manufacturing Insiders. Today I have Jen Rutz. She is the president of DCM, of long-standing company in the rotary grinding space. They are up against the Kleenex of rotary grinding. Most people think of rotary grinding and they think Blanchard grinding. Well, that's a brand. It's not a process. And so Jen's company, DCM, manufactures some really, really high quality rotary surface grinders. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the competition space, how they're, kind of competing against that Kleenex of rotary grinding, and also how they're dealing with some kind of big shakeups in their company with some of the long tenured employees, people that have been there 25 to 40 years, leaving, how they're capturing some of that knowledge and how they're kind of, moving forward through that trial. So welcome to Manufacturing Insiders, Jen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you guys have lost, I don't know, maybe about 180 years of experience in the past year.
Close to that, yep. We've lost 6 employees to retirement in the last 14 months, and they have all been here 30 or more years, so I guess that's about right.
Yeah. So that's a lot. And a lot of companies are going through a very similar situation these days. And really the name of the game is knowledge capture and transfer. And so I'm interested to hear how you've approached that.
In ways not very well, and as we go along, better. We have been doing what most people do in this space or in any space. They try and hire anticipating that somebody will be departing soon, and have some cross training happening along the way before that individual leaves. So that's the more common situation that we've certainly been doing. But what we found really effective is utilizing everybody's favorite buzzword right now, which is AI. So we have a tool where, whether we have hired someone new or not, if we know someone is departing for retirement to enjoy other things in life, we start them on a training regimen where we have a camera up with a training app, and they're actually recording what they're doing for assembly of a machine. And as they're doing that, it's time stamping what they're talking about, what tools they're using. They're verbalizing what they're doing on the machine or the assembly. And then after the fact, it gets uploaded to a website. It converts it into a standard operating procedure with timestamps. And we have found that to be incredibly effective.
That's
now, on our production floor, some of the guys are pretty uncomfortable with that, but they get used to it very quickly because they've all trained before, like trained other employees or whatever. So they forget the camera's there, and they just kind of do their work, and then AI does everything for them, for us on the back end.
That's awesome. So that sounds a lot like a guy that I interviewed on the podcast a while back, a company called Ramon. That's not what you're using, is it?
Nope, we're using Loom AI.
Okay.
Probably, I haven't heard of Ramon, but probably a very similar setup.
Yeah, it sounds very similar. Yeah, basically it's the same kind of deal. They either wear a body camera or just a separate camera. They're kind of dictating the work as they're going. It's going into a database that's searchable. Um, they call it like their digital Walter. You know, the new employee can ask Walter questions, and
Nice.
yeah, it's a pretty cool system. So no, it sounds like that's a great solution. It's cool to hear like somebody that's actually using it because it's all been kind of conceptual for me up to this point.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
call yourself, oh, go ahead, finish your thought.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say you call yourself a recovering attorney, which I think is a very interesting plot twist here. So you were an attorney for quite a few years and sort of recently ended up coming into the family business. Tell me about that transition.
Yeah, I came in December of 2023 into the family business. My dad, Dave Arnold, started the company 51 years ago with a partner, a co-founder. And for the last 20 to 25 years, my oldest brother, Dan, has been running the business. And it requires a little bit of conversation because he's 22 years older than me and he's transitioning to retirement. I'm the youngest of six children. So he's the oldest and I'm the
Okay.
youngest.
Yep.
And he was ready to transition into retirement, and there wasn't really any other succession plan in place. So at that time, as an attorney, I was in practice. I was starting to feel burnt out and sort of looking for what else I could be doing outside of a law firm.
Yep.
And this opportunity came up. So I kind of grabbed it with both hands back in 2023.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I can see how that work would get tedious after a while, sort of repetitive. And now this is like a whole new world, which you did have some experience in the business growing up, so you
Yeah.
had some familiarity with it.
Yes.
What was kind of like the biggest surprise when you moved into this position?
Um, well, I had experience knowing what the business was about. I worked there a little bit as a teenager, not by choice. um, so I had exposure to it, but the ins and outs and the nuances of day-to-day manufacturing world, I knew nothing about. As an attorney, I don't know anything about how to be more efficient in building the machines and what sort of sequencing we should have for our machinists and the parts they're building on a given day. So it's been a lot of trial by fire,
Hmm.
specifically on the manufacturing side. It's all been good though.
Right. And have you kind of like sought out outside resources for, how to run efficient manufacturing operations? Like, tell me kind of like how you navigated that learning curve.
The primary outside resources are my dad and my brother. They're still very much active in the business. So that's been huge. Also, we've got a very strong engineering manager who became general manager when I came on. He has led me along the way. And then on a higher level, we also hired a lean manufacturing consultant.
Okay.
With some of the departure that we talked about earlier, with a lot of institutional knowledge going into retirement, it was clear that we needed a little extra outside help to get us back to where we have been with our manufacturing processes and becoming more efficient. So
Sure.
a selection of tools to bring me up to speed.
Yeah, absolutely. What is the biggest thing that you would say you brought to the table when you came to the company?
Yeah. My undergraduate degree was in marketing. I did that for a couple of years before going into law school.
Okay.
And that certainly has played a big role in what I've brought to DCM. Historically, we were in the automotive industry at the beginning of DCM's tenure, and that worked really well. Automotive industry has been a huge industry in America, but everybody sort of knew each other, and we built a strong reputation, and we were able to make great sales based on word of mouth. And over time, as we've gotten into the industrial space and we've broadened how many different industries our machines can serve, some of that has gotten lost. And so, with my coming in, we've really focused on what are our strategic marketing goals and how do we reach them. So that's been where that's the area that I've attacked first in all of this is broader brand awareness and
Yep.
communication of what our value is to customers.
Yep. Which I always make that argument as well, that sales is probably the first thing most companies need to focus on, because I mean, if you got the sales, you've got the revenue, you can improve the processes. Now, obviously, that has limitations if you've just got a crappy business, but but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you guys are up against, what everyone just refers to, as Blanchard grinding. What's the biggest challenge with that? Like when you're talking to somebody at a trade show and they're like, "Oh, you sell Blanchard grinders," and you're like, "No, no, no, we sell DCM grinders."
Um, the biggest challenge is not correcting them and saying it's not Blanchard grinding
Yeah.
and being rude about it. We differentiate ourselves from the Blanchard machines because I think we serve a lot of different customers that they don't serve. They're very much a heavy duty industrial grinder. If somebody has a grind shop, they've got 10 Blanchards and maybe they have 80-inch tables. So they're these giant heavy duty machines for hogging off a whole lot of material on a part.
Yep.
We have the same sort of machine setup. It provides the same finish on a part. It's called a crosshatch finish when you do that style of vertical rotary surface grinding. But we're in a different area of precision manufacturing. And so we can serve a lot of different customers than a Blanchard grinder can. And just making that clear to people that, yes, our grinding style is similar, but we do a lot more is important.
Okay. So really the footprint of the part, it would be the biggest differentiator, the envelope size?
Yeah, and the size of our machines are a lot lighter than many of the Blanchards. And then, we've got value add with how we serve our customers with support and then automation. So I don't have exact details, but from my understanding in my 2.5 years tenure at DCM, a lot of the Blanchard machines that are still operating are machines that are 40, 50 years old. Maybe they've been sent into Blanchard to be rebuilt and have had more control systems put in. Versus our machines are easier to operate. They're PLC controlled. They're not CNC machines. So we have advantage in what sort of operator is needed to be trained to run the machines. Those are just some of the differences.
Got it. Okay. And so you guys are serving a pretty broad range of industries now, even some of the semiconductor, magnetics, some of the new kind of, I guess not new, but really up and coming or predominant industries right now.
Yeah. Yep. So the silicone boules, we're able to grind those. It's very much a pre-processing phase. They're not into the wafers yet for the semiconductor electronics industry. Rare earth magnets is very quickly growing for us. And then another really big one that we're finding a good spot for is metal additive manufacturing. So when you have a build plate and a part is built onto it, and then they lop off the part, our machines do a really great job of resurfacing that build plate so they don't have to throw it in the garbage. They don't have to send it to a third party to get it ground, and who knows when they're going to get it back. They've got a machine in-house that can do it in a few minutes, and then they've got the plate ready to rebuild.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're not going to load that build plate onto a 80-inch Blanchard machine, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like tons of market opportunity. What's kind of your strategy? I mean, you're obviously generating some sales in the magnetics and some sales in the 3D printing, et cetera. What's your strategy to get more of that?
It's multifold. A lot of it is we still do trade shows. I'm not sure how much you hear about that with manufacturers today, just with your podcast.
We have quite a few conversations about it, and I'm like a little negative, right? Like I'm a digital marketer, so I'm like, okay, so you're going to take 3 salespeople there, you're going to put them up in hotel rooms. They're not going to be making, they're not going to be contacting customers and upselling over that time period. They're going to be generating a list of contacts that maybe 10% of them are actually going to respond when you follow up with them. And then there's going to be a 2-year lag time between that contact turning into a customer. And you spend, $100,000 on the trade show. What could I have done with that money, right? Like, what
Yeah.
could we have generated through an SEO campaign or through Google ads? So that, no, it does work for people. There's no doubt about it.
Ours is a blended strategy. So we do probably 10 or 12 trade shows a year, and we're targeting the shows. I mean, we go to the IMTS and the FabTech, of course, but we're targeting what are those smaller niche shows where it's all just that industry's executives or that industry's engineers. So a great example is AMUG. It's additive manufacturing something conference. It's a group. And they have a conference every year, and that has been a great resource for us to get exposure to exactly the people who we want to learn about our product. Yes, it's still a long buying cycle. Yes, there are leads that come out of that are poor, but we have improved also our nurturing of the leads after the show. So we've gotten a lot more, a lot more quality leads. Yeah, return on investment through that avenue. Now we do still, of course, do Google advertising. We're putting out blogs. We're writing case studies from actual customers and trying our darndest to build up the ability for the Chat GPT to find us if people are asking questions there. So.
Yep. No, and that's the name of the game these days. I mean, every month I'm seeing the AI, the LLMs taking traffic away from Google. And so it's something that we've had to be very responsive to, and we've been very successful in, getting the right tools to kind of track, how much traffic we're getting from LLMs, and also, what strategies are working for it, kind of reverse engineering inside of ChatGPT, for example. I'll go in there and for a customer, think about like what's a long tail keyword set someone would search for. So like in your case, it's, what's the best Blanchard grinding machine for, smaller parts that are, made of super alloys or whatever. And then you're kind of seeing, where is ChatGPT pulling that information from? Where do I need to be referenced in order to get in front of that search? What sort of information do I need to put on my website to get placed in that search? So yeah, it's a fun game, I guess.
Have you seen a lot of decrease in Google Analytics and the successfulness of Google Ads? Like just within the last 6 months, we've seen a decrease in our numbers. So we're really trying to prioritize.
It's accelerating. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And we're still seeing organic numbers for our customers go up in organic Google search, but it's not as fast as we would like it to. But that's being replaced by the success we're having in AI search. So yeah, you still definitely have to play both games. Because I mean, I'd still say it's 80-20. You're still 80% Google organic, 20% LLM, if that. But it's getting close. It all depends on how successful your AI strategy is too. But yeah, and that's kind of my mindset too, is like, if you can hone in on the exact thing that market is looking for, or, or a collection of them, formulate that into a keyword set, get that content on your website, you're going to get more exposure from that than you're ever going to get from a trade show.
Yeah.
And those are people that are immediately looking for what you have to offer too. It's not something you have to fight for.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my mindset on it. But no, that's good that you're thinking about all those things. And that digital strategy is probably what's going to drive you forward. I'm interested to hear though about your, kind of your follow-up process that you said you're developing after trade shows, and maybe your setup process. Like, what are you seeing work there?
Yeah. So anticipating a show, we're reaching out to two different groups of people. We're reaching out to any customers in the area that our technical specialists could go visit during that time. And then we're reaching out also to who we think will be at the show based on our past history in our database. So we're reaching out to them beforehand saying, hey, we're going to be at the show. Can we get together? Can we meet for dinner? Whatever. Can we go see you at your facility and just check in? And then post-show, we have a process where we've got an email campaign. It sends out 3 emails on a schedule. And then in between those emails being sent out over the course of a month or so, we're also making calls to the leads that we have and then the people that we had emailed pre-show, even if we didn't hear from them.
Yep.
And it's new content that we're putting on the emails. It's not like a generic, you heard the same email from us last year. It's actually practical to what's going on right now, what's in their specific industry. And we've found some success with that. And this is to say that previously, before I came on, there was no follow-up to trade shows. It was like, we have these leads, they sit there, maybe they get called, maybe they don't. There's no timeline, there's no KPI of what happens after. So,
right.
Yeah.
How important do you feel the documentation process at the trade show when you're having that conversation with the lead is, and what is your process there?
It's critical.
Yeah.
Because you talk to so many people. Otherwise, if you don't write it down and scan their badge, you forget. So we always invest in whatever that software is to be able to do badge scanning. And as usually there's one technical specialist at the show and then a marketing person who's set up and tear down and just sort of trying to bring people into the booth. And the marketing person tries to be a part of the conversation, and they're the ones maybe taking the notes. So the technical specialist doesn't have to be looking at their phone while they're talking. They're actually having the conversation and listening to what the potential customer is talking about.
Yep. No, that's a great point. Absolutely. Having someone kind of on the sidelines to take notes and make sure that it's documented. Because a lot of times you're talking about something very specific, an application for your product with that customer. And that's the kind of thing that you want to be able to reference in that follow-up email or phone call.
Yep, exactly.
Definitely. Okay. So have you been able to, so I guess then you probably plug these into some sort of a CRM. What do you use for CRM?
Well, we're working on that. So we have used HubSpot previously, combined with our overall ERP system, which has a CRM, but I use air quotes because it's not much of one.
Yep.
But actually this month we're going live with Microsoft Dynamics CRM.
Okay.
So that I think is going to be another step up and game changer for us on how we nurture those leads through the funnel, through the
absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was curious about ROI too. Like, are you able to look back at a specific trade show and then a year later say, this is what we got out of that?
Yes. We're doing that now.
Okay, good.
And to your point about long sales cycles, frankly, to us, it does matter, but it doesn't affect us too much if it's a trade show lead or a lead through website, digital advertising, what have you. It's a long sales cycle generally for capital equipment at the price point that ours is at. It's just a realistic part of the game. So we'll often see sales cycles that are 2 years or more. It's rare that we have one in less than 4 to 6 months.
Wow. Okay.
So that we're kind of always playing the long game, no matter where the lead comes from, and having that tracked and knowing. Just last week, we got a sale on a machine, and we had first met them in 2015 at a show.
Oh, wow.
It can be that long, which is painful, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
Right. Wow.
I know.
So do you guys offer some sort of financing, like, to speed that along?
Great question. This is another new shift that has been just pulled together in the last, probably this year. I think we started maybe in January. So I can't say if it's successful or not. There was a leasing arm 20 or 30 years ago that DCM had worked through for leasing machines. That didn't really do us any good, so that was scrapped long ago. But we do have financing now. We partner with Quail Financial Solutions, and we're having conversations with people, with customers who want the machine but maybe can't afford the price tag right away. So those have facilitated more conversations, but I can't say yet if it's a success or not.
Gotcha. Yeah, logically speaking, it does stand to reason that would speed up the sale. Because, I mean, obviously, if somebody's inquiring in 2015, they had some need for it. So, like, why didn't they buy it? Maybe they lost the job that they were going to use it for or whatever. But I think 50% of those people didn't buy it because they weren't sure they could justify the cost. But at least with the leasing, then they have the opportunity to start marketing that as a service to their customers and start to build up a customer base for it. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So rewinding like all the way back, what made your dad or your grandpa started this? Your grandpa?
My dad. He's 88, so he could be my grandpa, but he is my dad.
Okay. Yeah. Why did he decide to come into this space, with such because I think Blanchard started probably 50 years or more actually.
Yeah. I think it's about 100 years old.
Yeah. So what was the decision there?
So my dad is a mechanical engineer, and out of Iowa State, he went to the Chrysler program for a master's in engineering. So he was in Detroit, and he was heavy into automotive, obviously, at Chrysler.
Yep.
He also owned an auto parts business with his brother that was inherited from his dad before he passed away. So he knew the auto parts world. So he moved to Winona, Minnesota with my mother and some older siblings, including Dan. And he worked for a company for a while in the automotive industry and realized that that wasn't where he wanted to be. And he knew flywheel grinders. And so that's where the company started. It's a lot longer story because him and the co-founder, whose name is Dan Ruckavina, started two businesses side by side. There was this proprietary machine tool manufacturer in DCM. And then there was also EMD and Associates, which was an electronics contract manufacturing company. And the idea was that they would be combined subsidiary. DCM would be a subsidiary of EMD for DCM to be able to build equipment for EMD. But that quickly was determined that wasn't a good path. So they split those companies early on, I think within the first year of founding them both. So EMD continued on in electronics contract manufacturing, and DCM's historically built flywheel grinders for the automotive industry. So that's where it started.
Okay.
And it evolved from there. In the 90s, they recognized the changing landscape of the automotive industry, and so they started to build machines that were more industrial. And now, fast forward another 40 years, that's 30 years. That's evolved into our primary sales are in the industrial space and not as much in automotive, although of course we do sell there as well.
Yeah. Which makes sense, kind of looking at the transition of automotive manufacturing out of the US starting in 1985 to 1995. I mean, I think that was the biggest drop in automotive manufacturing here. I think when China was allowed to join NAFTA. Is that right?
I don't have that history.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Sure.
Yeah. And then
my dad would, but unfortunately
Detroit shut down at that point. So beyond just the kind of the technical specifications, the size of the parts, things like that, your other big differentiator is not utilizing the distribution model so much as, your factory direct, selling directly to customers, providing all the sale, the sales, the service, the support, all that sort of stuff. What was the driver of that decision? Do you still feel like that's a good decision?
Yeah. We still work occasionally with distributors, but it's not on any sort of exclusive basis. As you said, we've got an internal team of salespeople. We call them technical specialists. And we found that when we worked with distributors, we would work with them to educate them about our machine so that they could sell it. Once they made a contact with a potential customer, we'd really do all of the work to get the sale. And then we would be paying the distributor basically for the meet and greet with the customer. Right. And because we have such a strong service process and support after the fact, we would be the one really with that customer relationship going forward in the long term. So It's not that we just found that the distributor model didn't work very well for us. We still work with them, like I said, but it's few and far between. So we like having the internal sales team because of the model we've built with them as technical specialists. So coming into DCM in this role, their first 3 to 6 months on the job are in assembly. They're learning how to build the machines. They're learning how it works. They're learning how to troubleshoot and service the machines. So when they're out in the field, they speak manufacturing to manufacturers. They don't speak sales. They're
Right.
able to sell the machine, and then they keep that long-term relationship with the customer by being their primary contact for service and support. And we value that very much. And we think our customers do too.
Sure. It makes a lot of sense, because basically what you're paying the distributor for is lead generation in the end, and then
Yeah.
you're handling all the rest of it. So like somebody like Blanchard, when they're working through a distributor, what responsibilities are they handing off to that distributor? So like I wonder this: if you could say to a distributor, I'm handling 90% of everything, you're basically selling my machine and getting a commission on it, versus you're going to handle the sales process, you're going to keep track of that customer, you're going to follow up, you're going to provide the support. So the commission structure would be different there. So instead of 10% on the machine, we're going to give you 5% on the machine, but you don't have to do all the work. Because I just wonder what the trade-off is in terms of marketing. Because essentially you're competing against, if Blanchard's selling distributors, you're competing against 1,000 companies out there. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you did it the other way around, obviously you're still sacrificing some of that commission, but you're getting a lot more sales. I just wonder what the trade-off is there. Have you thought about that?
I don't know if I've thought about it exactly in those terms. We like I had said, we do work with distributors once in a while, and when one approaches us that we don't know, we offer them what's called a 5% finder's fee. Not always 5%, it's negotiated, but we offer them a finder's fee saying, hey, give us the contact that you've connected with. We're so happy that you've talked to us and our machine seems like a fit. Here's how we operate if we don't already have this contact, this lead in our CRM, mm-hmm. then we will give you a 5% finder's fee if we sell the machine when we get that sale. Yep. Distributors don't really care about that. We found they aren't really interested. So that hasn't been super effective for us. So the way we've been doing it has worked, and I don't know what else to say beyond that.
Yeah. You just have to spend more, you have to do more marketing yourself, which is, it's doable. I've noticed too that OEMs that use distributors have a lot of SEO benefits too, which is getting a little bit technical, but basically one of the big core concepts in search engine optimization is something called backlinks. So essentially, if you're getting links from another website that point to your website, from a relevant and authoritative source, that's going to build up your authority. It's going to make your content rank better. So if you're selling your product through distributors, a lot of times those distributors link back to you and say, oh, here's the technical data sheet. It's on, the OEM's website, or we proudly represent this brand, and they link back to you. It's a lot easier to build those backlinks and those, kind of votes of credibility when you're working through the distributor model. And I have companies too that are OEMs that I work with that they don't do that. And it's like a lot more difficult to find those backlink opportunities and get them linked. And, you got to spend money on them. But so there's trade-offs. But no, I think the model is obviously working for you. And I do like the aspect of you maintaining control over the relationship and making sure that your product is getting represented correctly. So that does make sense.
The other piece of it is and again, this is historical, so this is what I'm hearing third hand because I haven't dealt with it in my tenure so far. But when we're training the distributors on our machines, sometimes what has happened is they're not selling exclusively DCMs. They're selling maybe other Blanchards or other types of rotary surface grinders, and they're saying, oh, hey, competitor, this is what DCM is doing, and it works really well. So there's also a little bit of concern that we're teaching our competitors what we're doing that we do really well.
Right.
Which
Right.
again, to your point, is a trade-off because it would sure be great to have a lot more driving SEO to our website by being on different distributors' websites, but it's
Yep.
hard to see what it's working for us as it is, and we're happy about that. So,
Yep. Yeah. And being part of the conversation versus not, you
yeah,
know, and that's honestly, I've had 1,000 of these conversations with manufacturers over the years because you're always kind of like riding that line between presenting the compelling information about your company on your website and then, the risk of sharing that information with your competitors. And a lot of the manufacturers I talk to kind of like leaning against like, we don't want people to know what we're doing. We don't want people to know who our customers are. And I'm like, you're always going to run that risk if you're going to put yourself out there. But my argument is always that the benefit of putting yourself out there is going to outweigh that risk. It's kind of like that blue ocean strategy. Basically, let people try to copy what we're doing because by the time they do, we're going to be 10 miles ahead of that.
that's a conversation I have often with my dad because he's very
Yep.
much like, don't tell
Yep.
everybody what we're doing, make them call us.
Yep.
And I think in this day and age, the reality is they are trying to get as much information as they possibly can by researching it themselves before
Yep.
they make that phone call. So
Exactly.
that's
With AI, that much more as well. Yeah, so you really can't afford to hold it close to your chest. And certainly that older generation, that's the way they think. It's all very private, very, they'll call us. Well, no, actually, you probably won't get the call because they found the information on somebody else's website.
yeah, yep.
So yeah, that's definitely something I think that's important for manufacturers to think about. And just continue to improve and improve so quickly that people can't keep up with you. And that's basically your strategy.
Yep.
So what do you see the company doing in the next 5 years? What would you like to see in terms of growth, employees, revenue, markets?
Oh boy. Well, on our previous conversation, I mentioned just continued steady 10% growth. And you had said, well, that's not too hard to achieve. And it's not, but I want it to be an achievable goal for us. So that's sort of what our growth trajectory is for the next 5 years. We are moving a lot into automation. So we have a series of machines that are you can plug. It's got the capability to plug in any robot. It's not a FANUC robot. It's not an IGUS. It's any robot into our machine, and it'll talk with the programming of the robot to be able to work our machine.
Okay.
Our machines are highly automated, which they've got, like the automated door that opens and shuts, and that can all be controlled with the process with the robot. So that's a huge area of growth for us. I
Yep.
mean, we talked a little bit on our last conversation about labor constraints and where manufacturers are trying to go. And automation is obviously another big buzzword along with AI is how can we do the same or more with fewer people because we don't have the people. And
Right.
so that's a piece that we're continuing to grow. And with that, the other side of it is our machines are, as I mentioned, PLC controlled, not CNC. And that makes them a lot easier to train up and operate somebody who is not a skilled machinist. So for those manufacturers that need our machines, they're not having to hire a really skilled operator to run them. They can hire somebody who's got minimal manufacturing experience and learn how to run our machines in a day or two, which we're very proud
Yep.
of as well. So the continued conversation on that side of it is we need to make these machines sort of dummy proof.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean that negatively, but just the reality of it, they have to be easy to operate or
Yep.
automated so that we can keep manufacturing going and have America compete on a global market too.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's definitely the direction of the future. What is I might sound dumb asking this, but so with robotics, would the biggest thing be, when that job finishes on the grinder, the door opens, removing the part, placing it on, the assembly line or wherever it goes next, or packaging it or whatever. Is that kind of the application of the robotics there?
Yep. So the robot, we just finished up a robot project for a 2-machine automated work cell, and the robot goes and it takes the part from its spot. The door opens automatically. It puts it on. It closes. The machine grinds through 3 grind cycles automatically. The door opens, and then the robot knows to pick up the part and put it in a different spot, and then it repeats the process.
Okay. And then would it be moving it to maybe an inspection station, or is there like in-machine inspection capabilities?
So that's a great question. We don't have inspection capabilities, but we do have some in-process gauging capabilities. So this gets a little bit into the technical world, which is not my area of expertise, but we have currently we have control gauging, which is a aftermarket piece that we add into the machine when a customer wants it, so that as the part is being ground, it's measuring how much has been taken off the part.
Yep.
Not really related to the robot automation piece, but that is something that customers are asking for more and more, because then that further removes the need for an operator to say, have I met my tolerance? Am I at the flatness I need? Yep. And we're working right now on developing our own in-house tool, which is a probe that does the same thing. It measures the part as it's grinding. So that's a really good question. And any sort of inspection, obviously that happens in a secondary step with another employee, but we are doing some of that in our machine as well.
Very cool. Okay. Yeah, I know that a lot of, like even Mastercam, I talked to the president of Mastercam a while back, and they're really trying to incorporate, sensors and technology inside of a CNC machine to do dimensional inspection. So yeah, I don't know how, I think they're already, I think they already have that capability in some machines, but it plays really well along with the software. But yeah, so that's really cool, because that would take another step out of the process. Very interesting. Well, it sounds like you guys are doing great. Really impressed with the company. Very cool to hear, how you're differentiating the market, how you're kind of staying ahead of the curve, how you're performing at trade shows. And I think it's a exciting new role for you, and it seems like you're passionate about it and excited about what the future holds. So really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it as well.